Again, I'll say I really enjoyed this week's episode of NCIS Origins. It feels like the overarching story that has been sort of present the entire season is all coming together. I really liked the story structure, but it does make me wonder how the series will continue on past the initial story element that started the whole series, if that is the hope. Essentially, this week's episode gave us more backstory on Randy, still within the context of the season and the events that have been happening leading up to this moment. I really appreciate the order of the episodes, especially with Gibbs' episode coming first and then Randy's episode. It definitely made Randy's story resonate more with the audience. We learn more about Lala and her family. We get to see progress on Vera's project. It feels like the team was pitted against Frank's more this episode, but we got some valuable insight into why he makes some of his decisions. And just a side note, Gibbs is not really in this episode. I'm glad the storytellers feel comfortable enough to have other characters take the lead in episodes, and Gibbs doesn't have to be the front and center all of the time, even if the other characters still revolve around Gibbs. I like the story in this episode. It felt like we weirdly could have gone into some kind of horror tropes with the priest. It made me think of like Immaculate, maybe, but I'm glad we didn't. I did like that the priest was a red herring. I really thought he was the killer the whole time. I'm glad he wasn't. I feel like that would have been sort of an easy way out.
I thought you were gonna confess to murder, man.
I did like the humanity aspect of all of the characters. Even Randy says,
"You are nothing like the priests I had growing up."
I really like the ethical dilemma that Father Bobby is put into. I like learning more about Kowalski and his inclusion and contribution to the story, ultimately resulting in finding the killer. Randy blames himself for the death of Mitchell, which is affecting his entire family dynamic. Father Bobby is a priest, but is still human and makes mistakes. I do like that they didn't write him to question everything he believes in. There was no religious or non-religious agenda being pushed. It felt very natural to have the topic of religion and people's personal beliefs discussed and have people believe different things. But I'm glad that there was no religious identity crisis and everyone could just believe what they could at this point. Lala wants a promotion.
I'm up for a promotion.
Is this exactly what happened with Vera? Although it sounds like Vera left on her terms. Did she get promoted because Franks had given her recommendation to be promoted?
I wasn't gonna give a wreck this time around, but no, I don't know.
This was so interesting because we see Frank's humanity here as well. He selfishly wants Lala to stay on his team. He's not going to recommend her and ultimately hold her back from being promoted in NIS.
You belong in the dirt with me.
What?
Although somewhat flattering for Lala that Franks would want her to stay on his team, but also pretty controlling that Franks won't recommend her because he wants her to stay on his team. I had asked the question, what happened to Lala? We don't see her in the main NCIS story, and this kind of answered it for me. It would make sense if she had left this team and did something else and just didn't really interact much with this team or specific area of NIS because of this moment. I thought that was a really interesting story element that I really liked. This also just caused more team tension.
Smoke and mirrors.
And we got to see more tension between Vera and Franks as well.
Minga's still here.
Who's asking?
Me, Vera. She here.
Oh, no idea.
Just a reminder that they are a team and are no longer a team. I'm glad that Randy and his wife are doing good. They love their son, and I'm glad that he got closure on something that was causing him so much pain and suffering. Although he probably should be honest about the cigarettes with her. I really liked seeing Lala just in her regular life. It was fun to get to meet her sisters. It sounds like her older sister's a lawyer of some kind.
Hey La, sorry we're late. I got stuck in a mind-numbing deposition.
So that was cool that they both went into law and the military and like the justice system. Her younger sister seems to be more reckless, although it sounds like Lala was the exact same at her age. It makes sense that they're all sisters, so that was really fun to see. Vera is interviewing Bugs. I'm not sure if this was alluding to something like Bugs was gonna say it wasn't actually me and this case would open again, which can a case reopen if someone has said they're guilty but then they take it back? I'm not sure, but I'm expecting that to come up again. Really liked getting to see more of the team too. Makes the entire NIS team and environment feel more real because we get to meet and interact with people all over the office. The music and the cinematography of this episode was on point. That is something that this show has done a really good job with so far, just good filmmaking. I honestly didn't have very many complaints about this episode. It was a solid episode, good story, and we got to learn more about the characters. I bring this up every time. Gibbs and Lala are most definitely getting together at this point. This scene felt kind of forced, but there was a natural bantering and conversation that was happening, but it still kind of felt awkward. But she did accept a cup of coffee with Gibbs, and that's just a small step toward a bowl of cereal. Especially because of next week's trailer, I feel like we are careening towards them getting together. Eddie was brought up this episode, and it's just not looking good for them. I have been given enough time to just accept them getting together. I really just don't want the will they, won't they, and I don't want this to be an awkward coworker situation. If they're gonna get together, just have them get together, and I want no tension from it. But maybe that's asking too much. Or I just don't want them to get together at all. The only other small thing about the episode is the amount of details discussed directly in front of Father Bobby. Would they talk about this in front of him? Would they be so apparent? Why did he come out of the bathroom? Anyway, I really enjoyed this episode. I'm looking forward to next week's episode. Seems like it's going to be high stress and intense, which should be fun. Let me know what you thought of the episode in the comments. Like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.